Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a scored review on, believe it or not, the Mega Man Legacy Collection. Although this is 6 games plus challenges put into one, I will be doing each game individually for a review and the challenges individually as a review. So in this particular game, or Legacy Collection game, I will be starting with Mega Man the original. Now, I'll go ahead and get the game started. If you notice, when I hit the play, I believe this is the only Mega Man game that I'm aware of. I think I've played through all but 11 now that does not have some kind of intro. And even when you hit start to go into the game, there's nothing that goes on there. So, this game is a action platformer. It's more on the scale to action than platformer, but there's still a lot of platforming. This game was, well, the actual game, Mega Man, was actually developed by Capcom and published by Capcom, but this iteration of the Legacy Collection was developed by Digital Eclipse and published by Capcom. Now, I review a game based on 5 different categories. That is story, graphics, music, sound effects, gameplay and controls, and achievements. Now, be honest, starting off in story, the only bit of story you get in the game is the ending. And there's almost nothing in that. It's literally just Mega Man running back home after a fight well done. So, this game has like almost non-existent story. For the graphics, now, back when this game came out, these graphics looked really good, and the touch-up and graphics options that you can do in this game are allow you to customize the game to your experience. I prefer the classic, like, full screen, no CTTV screen lines or anything like that. I like this beautiful smooth look that they have right here. Now granted, compared to most normal games, this game doesn't look great, but the updated remaster does look pretty good. So now for the music and sound effects. Now, this one definitely sounds dated. It's crystal clear, but the music is very dated sounding. It's very chiptune-y, which plays really well into the gameplay style games, or these older looking games. So it kind of makes them feel more nostalgic for the older games. The sound effects, while aren't bad, are actually iconic for the game. A lot of the sound effects carry over from game to game, so you feel a sense of what's the best way to explain it? Nostalgia for each new game. Like you feel like you've played it before, but you haven't played it, and there are still new things to come. So the music's good, and the music's okay, and the sound effects are iconic for the series. The gameplay and controls. Now, honestly, they could have touched up the game a little bit on these. Like, you still slide with Mega Man, but, I mean, that's the challenge of the platforming. The momentum slide is still there until at least 7, I think. So, I mean, they didn't get rid of everything. Now, this game has 6 bosses that you beat to get weapons from, and each of the weapons, well, I can actually just look up my last save file to show you that. But yeah, this game has 6 different weapons. 6 different weapons and a utility item that you can build. And each has its use in the game. But I noticed in the end of the game, there's only certain abilities you're going to use regularly. And I'll be honest, starting with the Hyper Bomb from Bombman. Realistically, this weapon is only good against fighting Gutsman. The enemies that are actually weak to the bomb, like the Sniper Joes, if their shield is up and you throw it behind them, you still don't hurt them. So this is one of those weapons that's limited pretty much in scope exclusively to being a boss weakness. Now the electricity one, it shoots electricity in 3 different directions. So this is like an all utility weapon, and I used it regularly throughout the game. The Guts Arm, yeah, this is the one that is a situational power. It's good against Cutman himself because there's 2 in his chamber, but not the Cutman rebattle near the end of the game because it's not in there. And there is no other boss that, other than the water creature in Wally's castle, that's weak to it. When there's not enough bricks in the bottle to beat him, so you got to use Gutsman power along with one of the other ones. The ice is another one that's pretty much situational. It can freeze enemies in place, but it's really only useful against really big jumping enemies and Iceman. Gutsman's Blade, it can be useful, but you're mainly just going to use this against Electman in both fights. Firestorm from Fireman, that's a pretty good weapon as well. It's also one of the ones that you're going to use a bunch because there's multiple bosses that are weak to it, plus Wily in the final battle is weak to it. And then like the ice, it's a straight shot, Cutman's a boomerang. Fire gives you a shield and a fire blast, and then you got the magnet beam, I think is what it's called, which lets you build up to multiple platforms that you can build on. And this is located in Electman's stage, and you need either Electman's power to blast away the rocks like you saw when I accidentally did it earlier, or Gutsman's Guts Arm to be able to get to it. So all in all, the powers are fairly well balanced for what you need them for, but it's not until the end of the game that you realize just like how situational several of them are. Now, outside of that, you know, you're only going to use like a handful. Most of the time you're going to just use your standard Buster arm, so the gameplay and the controls are there, and they're solid for this style of game. Now for the achievements, this game itself has 2 achievements. One for beating the game. That's it, you just beat the game. The other one is part of beating all 6 games in the collection on one save file. So, really, its achievement, it's one, isn't that hard. It's just a test of patience. So, the graphic, or the story is not really non-existent, so, I mean, you're not really gonna replay this a whole lot, except for the action and the gameplay and stuff like that. So, I normally rate a game 5 out of 10 is average, instead of the industry standard of 7 or 8. And in this particular one, you know, there's not really much story. The graphics are touched up, but, I mean, there's only so much you can do, so, I mean, they still hold up well for the whole 8-bit era. The music and sound effects, like I said, the music's good, and the sound effects are great and iconic. The gameplay and controls are fairly solid, and like the mechanics make sense in what they were trying to do for them, although they're not like up to par where you're going to use everything as you need to. A lot of it's going to be situational, and the one whole achievement you're actually going to get in this game for beating it is, while the game itself is hard, the achievement's only as hard as it is for you to beat the game. So I would say, all in all, it was a fun experience to go back and replay this game again. But looking back at this one now, I would give this one a 6 out of 10. It's definitely not the strongest entry in the Mega Man, being the first, but it is slightly above average, and if you like Mega Man games, you can't go wrong with this. And if you like Mega Man games, you probably already picked up this package. So 6 out of 10, and of course, with all things gaming, game logic, am I right? See you guys next time.